I'll never look at a shiny Eevee in the same way again. Not ever. Never again. I'm sorry. Let me explain this better. It all started a few days ago. I was on the internet looking for action replay codes. I really wanted one for either my shiny Vulpix or a shiny Eevee. Then I found one for that shiny Eevee that I wanted so much. The code was long, but I was willing to take the time to put it in. It took about 15 minutes to punch this sucker in, but I was so excited to get the code into action. I started my Soul Silver game up with the code on. I clicked on the continue and my previous save data came up. I was saved right in front of the Pokemon Center. I rushed into the place with my Typhlosion falling behind me, went to the PC and pressed A. Klaus booted up the PC. I clicked A on Bill's PC. Pokemon storage system activated. I pressed the L and R buttons down and moved to box 5, where a shiny Eevee was supposed to come up. I moved the cursor over Eevee. It was named EE, and it was level 1. Its moves were Tackle, Growl, Sand Attack, and Swift. I took out my level 1 Giratina from my party and put it into the first box of the PC. Afterwards, I put EE in my party. I wanted to trade it under my Heart Gold version, since it was the one I always play. I got my other DS and popped Heart Gold into it, and I clicked continue. Once both of my players were in the Union Room, I started the trade. I traded a Cubone onto my Soul Silver in return for E. Once the Pokemon were traded onto the separate versions, I make both players leave the Union Room and saved, one at a time. Once turning off the system Soul Silver was in, I went to play Heart Gold. I wanted to clone E so I could get the rest of the evolutions. I wonder if I have a Thunderstone. I wondered to myself as I opened my character's bag. The only evolution stone I had was a Water Stone. Vaporeon will do for now, I guess. I clicked A on the Water Stone and clicked on E. I watched as the Eevee evolved into a pink Vaporeon. Once the evolution process was done, I saved the game and turned it off, as it was time for me to go to bed. Several days passed, and I'd gotten all the shiny evolutions, except for Flareon, but that didn't matter to me. I'd get it later. I wanted to get E back into my Soul Silver game. I got my DS and popped in my Action Replay DSi along with Soul Silver. Once the code list loaded, I clicked on the shiny Eevee code and started up the game. I clicked continue as soon as the options came up. I was saved in the Pokemon Center this time. I ran over to this PC. Klaus booted up the PC. I clicked A on Bill's PC. Pokemon storage system activated. I was already in box 5. I moved to box 6 and held down the R and L buttons. I moved back to box 5. Instead of an Eevee icon in the box, there was an egg icon. I moved my cursor onto it, and it was called Bad Egg. I moved the egg to the side of the box and tried again. Another bad egg. I moved this egg from the bottom and tried for a third time. This time, E appeared in the box. I moved E back into my party. I wanted to train him. I disregarded the fact that I had 2 bad eggs in my PC box and logged off the PC. Ran out of the Pokemon Center to train E. I had the max EXP code on, so this would be easy. After flying to Goldenrod City on my Ho-Oh, I ran out of the city, knowing that I had sneaked past some of the trainers. Once a trainer had spotted me, I sent out EE, and the opposing trainer sent out a level 10 Diglett. I returned EE and sent out my trusty Typhlosion. After the foe's Diglett attacked, I selected Typhlosion's command. This wouldn't be hard for him at all, since he was level 100. I selected Slash. Typhlosion used Slash. Foe Diglett fainted. I held down the R button so EE would gain max experience points. EE grew to level 2. EE grew to level 3. I went on until EE grew to level 37. Trainer is about to send out Zubat. Will Klaus change Pokemon? I selected yes and sent out EE. Go, EE. Trainer sent out Zubat. I selected the fight command and then chose Swift. EE used Swift. Foe Zubat died. Zubat died? I questioned. I shook my head and ignored it. Although, through my confusion, I had forgotten to hold down the R button and get max EXP for my Eevee. Trainer is about to send out Diglett. Will Klaus switch Pokemon? I selected no this time. Trainer sent out Diglett. What will EE do? I selected the fight option and then chose Swift again. EE used Swift. Foe's Diglett died. Again, the Pokemon had died. Even though this still confused me, I remembered to hold down the R button. EE grew to level 38. EE grew to level 39. EE grew to level 40. This continued until EE reached level 52. The opposing trainer didn't do anything after I beat him. Before the screen went back to the overworld, I got to the evolution screen and EE was on there. What? EE is evolving. The animation started showing it was trying to evolve into Espeon. I clicked the B button since I already had a shiny Espeon. What? EE stopped evolving. I noticed that EE seemed to be angry. I ignore it and go on training. In about 5 minutes or so, EE was trying to evolve into Espeon again. I pressed the B button and EE seemed even angrier. The sprite's face looked twisted and like almost a snarl at me. But anyway. After that, they respawned me in the overworld. Before I could do anything, my trainer faced EE and an angry icon appeared over the shiny Eevee's head. EE wants to evolve into Espeon. Yes or no options came up. Being that I didn't want to evolve into Espeon, I clicked no. The angry icon over EE's head appeared again, and the small sprite jumped down as if it were throwing a tantrum. EE wants to evolve. Another yes and no option came up. I clicked no again. EE didn't do anything this time. Stayed there. Bye. I opened up my party and noticed all Pokemon were now bad eggs, except for EE. I clicked on EE and then on Summary. EE's sprite had an evil-looking smirk on its face and red eyes. I was starting to get tired, a bit scared of it. I went to the Pokemon Center and went to the PC. Klaus booted up the PC. I clicked A on Bill's PC. Pokemon storage system activated. I selected EE, then clicked on release. EE won't leave without a fight. Suddenly I'm dragged into a random encounter. EE wants to fight. Go, Typhlosion. There were two things I noticed here. The first thing was that I suddenly had my Typhlosion back. And the second thing was that both EE and Typhlosion's fights were bloody. EE still had that grin on its face, and there was now blood on its eyes and ears. Typhlosion's sprite looked very much like it was in pain. Blood was dripping from its mouth and nose, flesh was exposed on its forehead. The flame on its neck looked weak. What will Typhlosion do? I clicked the fight command and then chose Flamethrower. Typhlosion is scared. What? I whispered to myself. I didn't know Pokemon would get too scared to attack. EE used Bite. The attack dealt much damage to Typhlosion, but it wasn't down yet. There was more blood on it now than before. What will Typhlosion do? Fight. Flamethrower. Typhlosion is scared. I sighed. Again? EE used Kill. Typhlosion has died. No! No! I yelled. I was glad my dad wasn't home when I'd said that. Klaus is out of usable Pokemon. Klaus has fallen victim to EE. Once again, I was confused. What? Fell victim? I was back in the overworld. But I was in what seemed to be Ix Forest instead of the Pokemon Center. The forest was dark red instead of its normal green color. Bones and rotting flesh were strewn across the area. The little pond was blood red too. At this point I was starting to feel sick to my stomach. And then I noticed something. E was right in front of my trainer. E's sprite jumped up and down. E wants you to suffer. I was getting too scared to go on with this. I moved my thumb towards the power button. Don't even try it! You're not getting away from me! And that thundering voice came through the speakers of my DS. I assumed the voice belonged to E. The screen turned to black, and the only sound I could hear is what sounded like slashing. When the overworld came back, I saw my trainer lying on the ground in a pool of blood. He had an arm and leg missing, and his eyes were pitch black. I presumed that EE had done this, and I also saw that my trainer's eyes were ripped out. Then E's sprite jumped up and down again, and a happy icon appeared over E's head. I tried turning the game off again, and to my surprise, it worked. I sat on my couch speechless and breathed hard for a moment before turning it back on. I clicked on Soul Silver once I was at the DSi menu. After the title screen came up, I was immediately taken to a wild encounter. My trainer's sprite was missing his eyes and an arm. I swallowed hard, and this greatly disturbed me. When the opposing Pokemon appeared, E attacked. I noticed that E had shiny Espeon tears, tail, and a jewel. Blood was dripping from the ears, tail, and jewel. Its eyes were red, and it also had blood dripping from them. Its cry was like a demonic version of Espeon's cry. The only option was ball. I click on it. Klaus used one Pokeball. E goes into the ball. It shakes once, and again. Then E breaks out. E doesn't want to go back. E used kill. Oh no, I said quietly to myself. There was a flash of crimson red before a text box came up. E has killed Klaus. The screen went black, and then back to the overworld after a moment. My trainer's sprite wasn't there. E's sprite was now grinning widely. You should have let me evolve. You should have let me evolve! E's voice echoed and boomed through the speakers of my DSi. The game turned itself off when E finished talking. I was too terrified to turn it back on. I threw my DSi at the wall. Surprisingly, only the Soul Silver game pops out of it. I picked up the game cartridge and threw it into the trash can in the corner of my room. I sat there on the couch just wondering, what the fuck just happened to me? I mean, how could I explain that? I turned the TV on to see if the show would calm my nerves, and the screen was black. I figured I just left it on the channel I used to play on my Wii. I turned through the channels before leaving it on 29. The screen remained black. I sighed and reached to press the power button. But just as I went to click it, a voice came through the speakers. You should have let me evolve.